Please stuff the head and the body with fiberfill on your own. Thread the needle with the yarn tail of the body. Put this side with slip stitches SS as the back of the body. Then sew up the body and head together, with stitches corresponding one by one. Hide the yarn tail of the head into the fabric. Continue to sew up the body and head together, with stitches corresponding one by one. Conceal the yarn tail inside the fabric and finally cut off excess end. The head and the body are sewn up together. Next, we'll sew up the arms. Counting from the bottom, sew the arms to either side of the body, on round 12, fixing them diagonally forward, bilateral symmetry. Conceal the yarn tail inside the fabric and finally cut off excess end. One arm is sewn up. Please sew up the other arm to the other side of the body in the same way, bilateral symmetry. 2 arms are sewn up. Next, we'll sew up the legs. Counting from the bottom, sew the legs to either side of the body, on rounds 4 to 7, bilateral symmetry. Conceal the yarn tail inside the fabric and finally cut off excess end. One leg is sewn up. Please sew up the other leg to the other side of the body in the same way, bilateral symmetry. 2 legs are sewn up. Next, we'll sew up the tail fin and the tail. Thread the long yarn tail of the tail fin through the yarn needle. Sew the tail fin on rounds 1 to 3 of the tail. Then pull the other yarn tail out from the same stitch. Tie a knot with 2 yarn tails and finally cut off excess ends. The tail and tail fin are sewn up together. Then sew the tail to the back of the body, on rounds 5 to 7. Fix the tail fin horizontally. Conceal the yarn tail inside the fabric and finally cut off excess end. The tail is sewn up. Next, we'll sew up the ears. Sew the ears to either side of the head, on rounds 4 to 6, bilateral symmetry. One ear is sewn up. Conceal the yarn tail inside the fabric and finally cut off excess end. Please sew up the other ear in the same way, bilateral symmetry. 2 ears are sewn up. Next, place the hat on the kitty's head and then secure the bottom of the hat to the head. Conceal the yarn tail inside the fabric and finally cut off excess end. The hat is sewn up. Next, we'll make the eyes. Take out the hot melt glue stick from the kit. You can melt the glue stick with your own lighter if you don't have a glue gun, but don't use the outer flame to avoid the glue stick being burnt black. Stick the plastic eyes on round 6 of the hat, spacing 2 eyes 4 stitches apart. One eye is completed. Please stick the other eye in the same way, spacing 2 eyes 4 stitches apart. Two eyes are completed. Pull out one strand of black yarn and thread it through the yarn needle. Embroider a W-shaped mouth on round 6 of the head, between the eyes. Conceal the yarn tails inside the fabric and cut them short. Tie a knot with 2 yarn tails and finally cut off excess ends. Hide the yarn end inside the fabric. The mouth is completed. Next, we'll make the blushes. You should use the same methods to embroider the blushes with different colors for 3 kitties. Use light pink yarn for green and blue kitties and dark pink yarn for pink kitty. We'll use light pink yarn for demonstration. Embroider the blushes under the eyes. Tie a knot with 2 yarn tails and finally cut off excess ends. Hide the yarn end inside the fabric. The blushes are completed. Next, we'll sew up the gills. Thread the long yarn tail of one gill through the yarn needle. We'll sew the gills on round 6 of the hat, 3 stitches away from the eyes, bilateral symmetry. Conceal the yarn tail inside the fabric and finally cut off excess end. Also conceal this yarn tail inside the fabric and finally cut off excess end. One gill is sewn up. Please sew up the other gill to the other side of the hat in the same way, bilateral symmetry. 2 gills are sewn up. Now, let's make the expressions. The expressions of the green kitty and the blue kitty are the same. We will demonstrate the green one. Use one strand of black yarn to embroider a X-shaped mouth on rounds 9 to 10 of the head, between 2 eyes. The mouth is completed. Then embroider 2 whiskers on both sides of the face, 2 stitches away from the mouth. One is diagonally on round 9 and the other is between rounds 10 to 11. Then embroider the whisker on the right cheek in the same way. One is diagonal and one is horizontal. Then pull the yarn tails out from the same position. Tie a knot with 2 yarn tails and finally cut off excess ends. Hide the yarn end inside the fabric. The expressions are completed. The green kitty dressed as axolotl is completed. Please make the other 2 kitties in the same way on your own. Next, we'll make the expressions of the pink kitty. Use one strand of black yarn to embroider a W-shaped mouth on round 9 of the head, between 2 eyes. The mouth is completed. Then embroider 2 whiskers on both sides of the cheeks. One is diagonally on round 10 and the other is between rounds 11 to 12. Tie a knot with 2 yarn tails and finally cut off excess ends. Hide the yarn end inside the fabric. Then put the hat on the head. The pink kitty dressed as axolotl is completed.